What's up, Cradle fans? We're back, Bamfious and Remix, with another episode of information requested. We were able to find time again, buddy.
Yay.
It seems like
Yeah.
Friday is the secret weapon.
Yep. Friday is awesome for me. Seems to be good for you too. So,
Yeah. The way we have to do this is I have to record with him when it's like the middle of the day in the United state of Texas, and Remix has to record in the evening after his newborn falls asleep in the country of Germany, in Deutschland.
indeed.
So, how you been? What's been going on?
Uh, well, I've been integrating with the Germans, and I I can say that things are a little better than the last time we spoke. Uh, it's not amazing here. There's some things that I definitely miss. Food being one of them, but maybe that's a good thing for me. I've been losing weight since I got out here, but
Nice. How much? Like, what are you down? Like, how much have you lost?
probably like 40 pounds.
You've lost
Uh,
40 pounds.
yeah. Uh,
Congratulations, buddy.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm going for 100. We'll see. I'm trying to get back to my military weight. I'm doing keto right now.
Damn, I thought
Um,
I was fancy. I've lost like 8 pounds.
oh, I mean that's good.
But in like the
Percentage-wise,
last
it's probably better.
in like the last 2 months, I've lost 8 pounds.
That's still not bad. That's a pound a week. So
There you go. Look
yeah,
at that. Well, congratulations. That's
thank you.
amazing.
I'm gonna keep working on it. My wife has lost 100 pounds since she had the baby, so she uh she lost it quick. Not just on the day she gave birth either.
I was about to
So
say, like, I'm pretty
yeah,
sure after birth, like, yeah. Anyway, good.
yeah,
That's
uh,
amazing.
yeah. Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, Germany's, it's growing on me. I think without COVID, it would probably be a lot better. But we did go to Edelweiss, which is it's a famous place
Edelweiss.
from Sound of Music,
Cool.
um, near the Alps. That was pretty fun, and you know, it's not so bad.
I don't know, but I appreciate the perspective.
Yeah.
Well, cool. We have a lot to talk about today, primarily around what other books we've read. But first, I want to talk about we may have a future guest on the podcast. He already said yes, but then I haven't talked to him since then. So I have to hit him up, and it's gonna be a great time if or when he comes on. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Sam White, the brother of Will White, and I don't want to say he was like my Dragon Con buddy, but he was my Dragon Con buddy this time, this like past Dragon Con, because I think it was his first Dragon Con, and it was my first Dragon Con by myself,
Yeah.
because my two friends that I go with, well, my one friend that I always go with, and another friend that was going to go, they both had to cancel due to COVID related, like poor, like just bad timing on their part. So I flew solo and got to hang out with Sam a bunch, and I mean the whole White family and like the panel event and all that stuff. But I got to hang out with Sam and get to know him. It was a lot of fun. He, I believe he somehow inherited like 98% of the family's like not he's the most extroverted of them all. He inherited 98%
Okay.
of the family's extroversion.
Interesting. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, he was a bartender at one point, right? Then I wonder if he got
famously a bartender.
so. I wonder if that had something to do with bringing him out of his shell, and maybe he found out he enjoyed being
Well, I mean, I
social
feel
more.
like you don't become a bartender if you're not already social. You know what I mean?
True, but I've accidentally become or been put in jobs where I have to talk to people more. So
Okay.
I you can incidentally become a lot of things, and I think a
Oh, that's
bartender could be
true.
one of those things.
Well, I mean,
But
take Will for example. He wanted to be an author so he wouldn't have to talk to people. but
right?
he probably has to talk to a lot more people now than he ever did before he became an author.
He became too good of an author. That's what happened.
Yeah, it's great. But yeah, I mean, so yes, Sam will probably be on the podcast at some point in the future. I haven't talked to him about when. I did say sometime in 2022, and he seemed pretty confident about that.
That's
So, hey Sam, if slash when you listen to this, hit me up and let's talk about that. Um, because that would be great. That
uh,
would be like a nonsense podcast, plus talking about like I don't know his actual life and job and stuff. But it would probably just be us shooting shooting the shit. Uh,
true.
yeah. So
I'm looking forward to it. I love talking to Sam. I talked to him on the release of Bloodline quite a bit on Twitch, and just
nice.
seems like a very
Is
awesome dude.
is
So
he the lesser white on Twitch? I can't remember. I'm sure he
yeah,
is.
yeah,
That's the best screen name. Like the lesser white. That's
yeah.
his Reddit name. That's his Discord name, and he's more active on Discord too. Sometimes I see he has like this aggressive color for his name that like glows. It's like this weird shade of blue that on dark mode it like glows. Have you come across any colors like that with dark mode enabled?
It's yeah, it's almost always like a weird blue or a green, and they even have that kind of blue in real life too. There's these lights on a restaurant in Texas. I think it's called Bone Daddies. I have no idea what kind of restaurant it is, by the way, so I'm sorry if
Well, okay,
it
you're
implies
talking
that
to a
it's not
guy
a
who
very good
lives in the
restaurant.
state still. So is
Yeah.
this in the DFW area, the Dallas Fort Worth area?
Yeah, I've seen one in the Dallas area. I'm sure
Bone
it's a franchise
Daddies.
though. But yeah, it has this blue
I'm about to
lights
look it
that
up.
basically blind you. Uh, it's like really hard to drive by because it's got these really harsh blue lights.
All
But
right, I'm looking it up right now. Bone Daddies. See location. All right. It looks like there's a Bone Daddies in Austin.
well, there you go. You're gonna have to drive by at night and get blinded.
It's permanently closed.
Well, never mind.
Oh,
Maybe the
that's
lights are still on.
unfortunate. That's unfortunate. I was excited. I actually have some news about my little hometown. It's not my hometown, but where I live. That
Really?
you would be interested to know. I don't know if anyone listening would be interested to know, but we sometimes talk about poker on here, right?
Yeah, yeah. We've talked about it before about how
Yeah,
much money I've lost, but you know.
true. Speaking of which, we missed you at the tables. Remixed. The last game we played this week, two people bought in for $100 because they kept losing.
Oh my
And you can
gosh.
guess one of them, but the other one you don't know because he started playing after you joined. But anyway, two of my favorite poker pros bought ownership stakes in a card room, in a poker card room in Texas.
Oh,
That's like 15 minutes from my house. And because of that, they play there. Like each of them plays there 2 times a week. So there's one of the three of them. Two of them are my favorite pros. The third one I'd never heard of, but they play there 2 days a week each of them. So there's someone there 6 out of 7 days a week.
nice.
Yeah, pretty cool. So I might
Yeah.
be going to play there to have some fun every once in a while.
That's something about Germany that I didn't know. Is there are casinos everywhere. And by casinos, I mean little rooms where you can go play slots or
Well, yeah,
blackjack.
one of
Like,
the most famous poker players ever is German.
okay. I don't
Fedor
know who that
Holtz.
is.
He's
Fedor
he's like
Holtz.
30. Yeah, he had this
Huh.
one like 12-month stretch where he made like I don't know, like $20 million playing on like the high
Holy crap.
like the high roller tournaments, circuit. It was like the most
Yeah.
epic run ever. Anyway, he's from
Wow.
Germany and you can play online poker in Germany, and I'm
Yeah.
jealous about that. But you didn't request information about my poker hobbies, but it's just something I was on Google Maps and I saw the lodge. So I was like, I got to talk about that. You are here to talk, like, request information about fantasy fiction, progression fantasy, or if we're talking to Remixed,
Lit
exclusively lit
RPG.
RPG,
Yeah. I mean,
exclusively lit
it is a
RPG.
type of progressive fantasy, so
I guess
it's at the very least adjacent to the subject.
it's
So,
like a sub genre. All right. Well,
yeah.
then let's just transition into that. What have you been reading lately? Because I have a ton of stuff to talk about. You have a ton of stuff to talk
Me
about.
too, yeah.
Why don't you kick us off and we'll swap back and forth?
Oh man, I don't even know which book I want to talk about first. So, I guess I'll start with The Legend of Randidly Ghosthound. There is a part of it on Audible. Uh,
It's like the
it's a
first 86 chapters,
yeah,
and they've been re-edited, so it's not
right.
like a Royal Road chapter. They're like quality chapters.
It sounded amazingly edited. The I don't want to spoil it, but I thought the book ended, and apparently, according to Audible, I still have an hour left. So I thought I'd finished it.
Yeah, I was
Um,
asking him. I was like, "What part are you at?" And he told me, and I was like, "That's how the book ended." I don't remember that's how it ending. He's like, "Oh,
yeah,
I have an hour left."
I thought I'd gotten through the end, but apparently I haven't yet. But it felt like a good ending or a good place to stop the first book. So now I just feel like it's trying to get you ready for the second book, if anything. But
Yeah, well,
maybe,
it's true because the encounter that he has where that happens to him.
hmm
I'm speaking like obnoxiously vague right now. It sets him up for the rest of the series. Yeah,
that makes sense.
it gives him like a mechanism to be independent.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and
Being
so just
independent
to
seems like
just to remind everyone what the Legend of Randidly Ghosthound is, it's a classic book where it's like a system apocalypse type situation where a superpower, like a universe spanning or galaxy spanning or whatever spanning superpower, um, takes over Earth and reconstructs it under a system. And this one is way more it becomes way more cultivation based than it does lit RPG later on. But the first book and second book and whatever is pretty heavily lit RPG. But it's like all super magic type stuff. Anyway, it's cool in the sense that the main character starts out in a high level dungeon when he's not supposed to, but he starts out as a level 0 classless weak human in like a level 30 something dungeon.
yeah. And he the only way he survives is by like finding a safe zone, and he ends up like very slowly grinding uh,
Yeah, he
to
comes
to
across
basically catch
someone
up.
who's level appropriate and helps like train him in some skills.
Hmm
Because like in this series, you can acquire skills before you acquire levels because you can't acquire levels until you get a class, and he's nowhere near having a class. Spoiler alert: he eventually does get a class,
Yeah. Um,
but not in
yeah. So
book
that's
one.
The Legend of Randidly Ghost Town. Really enjoyed it. Glad you recommended it,
You're
and I'm glad
welcome.
that it happened to have come out on Audible like right after we talked about it, um, because that's the easiest way for me to get through a book is to listen to it. Yeah, so another book, not lit RPG, notably, that I really liked,
I'm proud
is
of you.
called Vigor Mortis. Have you heard of it?
Vigor Mortis. No,
It's
I
by
shall go to Amazon now.
Natalie Mayer, or I'm not sure how to say her name properly. I think it's Mayer, maybe Maher. Um, it's really good. It's kind of more YA
It
leaning.
looks very YA.
It's not very YA. I would say it's too mature to be like middle school to not middle school, but like early high school. I'd say it's like I don't know on the
It's
on the top
it
end
is
of
interesting though.
YA. Yeah.
So like, how would you like? What's your brief? A couple
Um.
minute synopsis.
So basically, this street urchin girl who is just trying to not starve ends up accidentally killing a bread maker, like a he I don't even want to call him a baker. He just makes bread, and that's all he does. And she steals bread from him. He chases her. She accidentally kills him, and she kills him by yanking his soul out of his body by accident. This is seen as like very taboo.
So
Like
she's an
necromancy is very
acromancer.
tab
I was gonna say she's an accidental necromancer.
basically. That's how it starts anyway. And she's freaking out, because she doesn't want to be seen as this thing, but so she like tries to shove his soul back into his body, and it happens to work, and then he basically becomes her minion. But he has all of his memories still, which is not actually something that happens in necromancy in that universe normally. So she's like some sort of weird necromancer that other people don't know about. And that's kind of the start of the journey, is her figuring out her powers, how they work, and using them to her advantage. It's really good. It's pretty short,
Is
but
it a Royal Road book too? Because it looks like
it could be.
it looks like it might be the case. I don't know for sure. Don't quote me on this, people listening. But anytime I see someone that has like their author name as well as like their internet name, because her internet name
Thundamoo.
was Thundamoo, which is
Yeah.
that sounds like a World of Warcraft. Like it sounds like she played a boomkin in World of Warcraft.
Oh no.
Dude, think about it.
Yeah.
Like a Tauren
Yeah.
boomkin.
Yeah. Thundamoo. I guess
Yeah,
that
for
does
the
make sense.
horde, man, for the horde.
Yeah, true. True that. I played an undead mage, so um
The most basic
yeah.
choice.
So I can keep going. I have more books, but I know you've got some that you want to talk about. So
Yes, I am very happy to announce I have another recommendation by the author Sarah Lynn. This is the
oh,
author
Soul
of
Home.
yes, it's the author of
Yeah.
Street Cultivation. Um, and Sarah, I don't know if you'll ever listen to this, but if you do, I apologize for not having read Soul Home for a while because she straight up told me to. Like haven't had any one-on-one conversations with her, but on Reddit, because The Brightest Shadow, I was mad that she wasn't going to continue it. She has continued it. There's a second book now in the Brightest Shadow epic fantasy series, which is like sort of cultivation-y. But after Street Cultivation, I started reading The Brightest Shadow. I recommended that book, but I didn't touch Soul Home or the Weird Key Chronicles because I was like semi butthurt that The Brightest Shadow was going to be a unfinished standalone. And so, what did I do? I don't remember why this happened, but I ended up like reaching out on like Reddit or something and saying, "Hey, I loved it. I hope you write more." And she responded, "Thank you so much. For those of people who like that or like Cradle, you'll like my cultivation novel, The Weird Key Chronicles, first book, Soul Home." I didn't realize that others in that had already come out as well because she published like the first three very quickly. And the
Hmm.
fourth one dropped today, by the way. It's either today or tomorrow. I'm pretty sure it's today. The fourth one just came out.
Really? Okay.
Yes, like today. I'm pretty sure. So there's four books out. They're around the same length as Cradle books, and the cultivation is really cool. You like build a
A
structure.
house. Yeah.
Hey. It's not. It's not a house. It's a home, buddy.
Whatever.
Not just a house. So you build this structure. First of all, have you read it remixed?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Have you read all of them?
No, just the first. Just the first one.
Okay. I just finished the second one, Rainhorn, and I just started on the third one, which is Archcrafter, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So some foreshadowing there. But basically, when you are able to awaken your soul, it's basically like a plane of grass with clouds, like 10 feet up, 10, 20 feet up, something like that. And you're able to build using like enchanted wood or like magically infused wood, like a sacred tree, bark from a sacred tree. You can like take into your soul space, and then in your soul space, it represents like a bunch of lumber, and you can build a foundation and different rooms, and building structures depending on the ingredients and what have you. They call them sublime materials. Building with those allows your body to like hold on to Madra. They don't call it Madra, they call it Kante. But it allows you to like hold on to the magical power and use it. But like each technique you want to use needs to have like its own room, and you need like a central room, and you have to like plan your home in such a way that you can build upwards, because the way that you like progress or ascend to a new level is by getting strong enough, getting a solid enough house that when you try and break through the clouds, and it like pushes back against you, that your house can survive that pushback, because you have to eventually have a strong enough willpower, strong enough house, home, or whatever to break through the clouds to get to the next level. Uh, and it's cool. I like it a lot. Excuse me. The only drawback to any Sarah Lynn book is that she's really good at a lot of elements, and so there's not like super rapid paced progression. Like it's like a sustained pace of progression because she's able to write characters and worlds and all sorts of stuff. That's really interesting. But the fun part about book one is there's kind of like a weird isekai situation that happens, sort of, where the kid from Earth gets like recruited to be, he gets like taken to the nine worlds, which is like these worlds that are connected by magic and portals, and everyone in those nine worlds can become a soul architect and start to level up and be strong. He gets to a pretty advanced stage. It's like this, he gets like the second highest stage that we know of. So he basically becomes like an overlord, and then he dies. But because he came from Earth, when he dies, his soul like goes back to his body on Earth, and he like doesn't die. And then he like tries to get back, and so the story really starts when he's finally able to get back to the nine worlds after several decades. And so he gets to basically start his journey over with all his knowledge. And it's kind of interesting how he struggles with the process. One of my favorite things about it is that his first journey through, he had all of like the like protagonist plot armor, and he like thinks back to where he's like, man, when I did this before, anytime I'd get into a tight situation, I'd always figure something out at the last second. Like all this, it's like a funny, call out to the tropes.
I like the idea of him having the resources the first time around and not having them the second time around, and but having the knowledge.
Having the knowledge, but not the resources. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like, if you like the whole, like if you liked Cradle in the beginning when Lyndon didn't have the resources, but he kind of like hacked his way through, it's kind of like that. But he's not like crippled. He just has to figure out a new path. So I recommend the Weirkey Chronicles. A lot of fun. Very cool. Did I talk about Jake's Magical Market? Or did you recommend it last time?
I recommended it last time.
Okay.
I don't think
I read that too. And
please.
It's awesome. It's dope. But the problem is, it feels like a whole series in one book, because there's a lot of stuff I felt like could and should have gone on quite a bit longer that didn't. And I really want to know how this author is going to like
write himself out of the corner he put himself in at the end of the book.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Like,
I'm really hoping he planned that. Otherwise, book 2 may be a letdown.
Yeah, like in Randidly Ghosthound, like way later on, there's a pretty interesting concept that won't spoil anything, but like you're able to move between cohorts if you are able to enter someone's, like there's a way Randidly can bring someone from a higher cohort to his cohort, which isn't supposed to be possible. But when he does, they're like very limited in like their abilities. Like some of their really powerful abilities that you'll learn what they are later Remix. But there's like a concept of, it's not authority, but it's kind of like authority. Their ability to pull on their authority is extremely diminished. They have like a forced veil. Kind of similar to like Sha Miara in the Uncrowned tournament, where she's pushed down to the level of an Underlord, but she's like the perfect. Yeah, she's like a perfect Underlord. It's kind of like that, And I'm what I'm hoping is, so with Jake's Magical Market, the character gets like an insane power up right at the end of the book, like an insane power up.
Yeah, it's not insane. Doesn't even cover it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
insane power up. Um, the way that I would try to metaphorically describe this to you is if Lyndon were to find an Abaddon artifact and then, yeah, basically something like that, sort of.
Yeah.
But what I'm hoping is like when he returns, he still has really cool abilities, but it's like forcibly scaled down, and he has to like get better or stronger or more understanding. But I don't know, like the magical mechanics make me feel like that's not the case because yeah, we'll have to
Uh,
see.
I, my prediction is that it's gonna be like Dragon Ball Z-esque, and they're just gonna there's new characters that are gonna be introduced that are of even higher level that we hadn't fathomed in the first in the
Well,
first book or
maybe,
some
but
crap.
the problem is the whole time travel issue
Time travel is an issue in every single book.
because of like the linear universe problem. Like you know what I mean? I,
Yeah,
spoiler alert: he finds this artifact or this power up by like I don't know, accidentally manipulating time. Like he has time abilities, but it's never like going back in time. It's always like slowing down time.
yeah.
And so I really want to understand how he like is one going to get back, two how his power set's going to transition back. But the book is really good. I don't think the author has written anything uh, beyond the first book. I went to his Patreon and he didn't have any posts yet, so it seems like he worked his butt off on this book and then maybe some other books. And anyway, so
Yeah,
that's
it seems like we're kind of talking it down now, but it is very good. Like
it's
it's
very
worth
good.
reading. And even if
It's
a
yeah.
second book never happens, it's not like a mega cliffhanger that I feel like is gonna drive you insane. It's not a King Killer Chronicles book
No, it's
two.
not. It's
Um,
yeah, it's a good book. It's worth it. I'm just very curious how he's going to continue it. The author.
right.
What else have I
All right.
read? I've been reading a bunch. Yeah, you're next though. What's going on?
Man, I don't know. I have so many more books. But the next one I'm going to talk about, also not a lit RPG. I actually may. Oh, wait. Uh, first of all, in the Discord, we now have a list of books that I've recommended. Most of them are lit RPGs. In fact, I meant for them to all be lit RPGs. I think there's maybe two in there that aren't technically. Um, but we're expanding on that list, and we'll eventually have affiliate links. So we get some sort of, kickback if you decide to buy the book or whatever. Um, but anyway, that list exists now. We'll put a link in the description as well, but it's in the Discord. It's being updated on a weekly basis as I think of things that I've read or read new books and highly recommend them. I put them in kind of a tier list. Everything on there is definitely worth reading. I just kind of graded them against each other, if that makes sense. So a C isn't necessarily a horrible book or anything like that. It's just in relation to the books that I think are S tier, and this is purely my opinion. So anyway,
I haven't
uh,
added anything to this list, even though I need to. But I do plan on updating that list so that we can more easily share it, like put it in the description and stuff. There's this cool like web app that allows you to make really visually pleasing lists
okay,
with yeah and yeah so like providing links to these books is they are going to be affiliate links to help support this labor of love. So maybe after a couple months we'll have enough to where we can each buy a coffee. I'm excited.
yeah, that'd be great. Even though
Yeah.
I'll buy a Coke Zero. I don't drink coffee, but
Okay.
uh,
Well then
caffeine.
we might have enough to buy a 6 pack of Coke Zero.
uh, yeah. So the next book I want to recommend is it's by Davis Ashura. It's called the series is called Instrument of Omens. I can't remember the name of the first book. A Testament of Steel. Um, it's really good. Um, it's got, I think, 2,500 5-star reviews. Out of like 2,500 reviews. It's ridiculous. But it's hard to explain the whole
A
premise of the book.
Testament of Steel has 1,700 reviews on Amazon, with an average of, it looks like, 4.5 to 4.7.
Okay, on
Let's
Audible it's a
look.
little
Yeah,
different.
it's yeah, 4.7 is the average review after about 1,700, close to 1,800. And yeah, the
Yeah.
first book is A Testament of Steel.
hmm So it follows a character named Cinder Shade, who um, wakes up with amnesia, gets uh, attacked by a tiger that is possessed or something because it seems a lot more intelligent than the average tiger. He somehow survives and then finds that his parents were killed by this tiger, but he doesn't remember his parents. So it kind of goes into how he's like not mourning them, even though they're dead, because he doesn't remember them. But his brother does remember them, and his brother's grieving. And in this first chapter, you kind of learn that this character was kind of like a cripple and useless, and his family like couldn't feed him or anything like that. And of course, they loved him, but he was disabled. He had a club foot. But
Interesting.
when the tiger attack happened, after the attack, for some reason his foot was no longer injured, and he has amnesia. So that's the beginning of the book, and he feels guilty that his parents can't support him anymore, and his brother also um, can't support him anymore, and he can't support himself. And with the amnesia and everything like that, they decided to send him off to a shelter. And he goes with this priest of his town, his little town that he's in, to this shelter. And this shelter is like a school on top of everything. So it's like an orphanage, I guess, is the best way to put it. And um, they find out that he's actually kind of talented and with like fighting. So they send him to this academy that kind of then
The
launches
prestigious
the rest of the
Elven
book.
Warrior Academy.
No, that's later in the book. The first
Oh,
academy
okay.
is not an Elven Warrior Academy.
Wow, we have an academic as our main character. Many academies to be visited. I'm
Right.
looking at the synopsis.
Okay.
Just like trying to
um,
like pair that with what you're saying.
right. So I would say my description is probably not doing it justice. One of the things that I like about this book, the prose, it's very professionally written compared to a lot of books in the genre. Um,
And what genre
it's
is that?
progressive fantasy. Progressive
It
fantasy, I feel like has uh, lower quality is the wrong word, but there's a lot more newer authors and I don't know how else to put it other than it's kind of obvious that the average quality I feel like of progressive fantasy books as far as the writing style or the editing goes can be a little lower in the genre. In this book, uh, it's on the fringe of progressive fantasy for sure.
Yeah, the okay, yeah. It looks like it's similar because the categories it's in. It's number 7 in metaphysical fantasy ebooks, number 9 in Asian myth and legend ebooks, and number 9 in overall fantasy right now. The first one,
Yeah,
A Testament of Steel. All right, well, this is something I'm going to pick up then.
highly recommend it.
It's on Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah, and on Audible, Nick Podell reads it. That sells it on a lot of people because he's a very well-known narrator. Um, Yeah, there's another book that belongs in the same universe of this that's also really good, but it's from a lot earlier in Davis Ashira's career, so it's not quite as polished as this book is, but it's still really good, and it's in the same universe. So um, I highly recommend reading that as well. I'll give you a title in a second. It is A Warrior's Path, which is the casts and the outcasts. Um, yeah, it's actually got an insane amount of reviews. Obviously, it's been out a lot longer. It came out in 2015, I think. Yeah, highly recommend that as well. It's not quite the same, but it's got a really cool magic system in it that I liked. And it's about a prodigy. It's not about the schooling or anything like that. It's post graduating the school, and it starts off with him like in the middle of a war, basically. And then he shouldn't have survived this attack, and he ends up having survived this attack and kind of gets ousted uh, because he survives it in a way that is considered not sacrilegious, but counter to the culture that he was brought up in.
He's so
um,
counterculture, so he must be expelled.
yeah. Um, he basically he used a magic that he wasn't supposed to be able to learn, and the fact that he could learn it kind of made him like,
Oh,
uh,
that's interesting. That reminds me of some of the Artorian books.
yeah. I
Speaking of
don't
which,
actually see a similarity on
well,
that one.
I'll explain. So,
Um,
Artorian was kicked out of an academy in his youth
right.
because when he answered a question, he opened up a celestial affinity when they were looking for him to open up a like the opposite of
Infernal.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
okay. It's been so long since I even read that far back in the Atorian archives. I forgot that there was even up before they're all in Cal,
Oh
uh,
yeah, no,
doing weird development stuff with magic.
yeah. The most recent one,
Um,
Asgard, just came out, and I started it, and Travis Baldree reads them, and
hmm
so I'm. It's like
uh,
my filler in between.
yeah, I like them, but it's gotten so convoluted. The past three books, I have
Yeah,
no like. It sounds like web development, but with magic. It's weird, but
yeah, and there's supposed to be like 21 books or something in the full.
holy crap.
I think we're on book what 11 or something.
Yeah, I could definitely see how it'll reach 21 with the current rate in which things are progressing though. Yeah, anyway, A Warrior's Path and A Testament of Steel. Either you can start either book first, it doesn't really matter. But they are in the same universe just in at different times. Like A Warrior's Path starts way earlier in that world. Um,
Okay,
so
interesting.
um Yeah. So what's you got another book that you're
Well,
wanting to recommend, or how many how many are we gonna do here?
yeah, we should probably call it soon, but I mean, I read He Who Fights with Monsters every day at 4 p.m. It's the only author I'm a Patreon subscriber to. Um, Shirtaloon, because I don't know, something about that series like just drew me in and wouldn't let me out. It's
I'm glad you like it. It did not do that for me, but
how far in did you get?
I can't even remember. It's very forgettable to me. Um, but yeah, I don't remember. It's within like the first 20 chapters. I keep putting it back down because it's not that it's bad. It's just that I find myself becoming uninterested with it. I don't know if it's the narration or maybe I'll
Oh,
try
because
reading it instead of
you're
listening.
audio only,
Um,
and so
I mean,
listening to the because it's very Australian at times, and having an Australian narrator makes sense.
hmm
But yeah, I ended up switching to just reading it because I like I
yeah, the
couldn't
narration leaves a little
understand.
to be desired to me, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, it's good though. It gets good.
Like I said, I'm not denying it. It's on the list because I know it like I can tell that it's good and it is an interesting story and everything like that, but I don't know. I'm gonna keep trying to get through it. Basically, like the same thing with the Wheel of Time. I know the Wheel
Oh,
of Time is good, but it takes forever for me to get through it.
oh yeah, that's because there's like a black hole in the middle of the series that you have to like skirt around, lest you never get out and
Yeah,
finish. Like
It's
you
got
just
its
have to
own event
get to
horizon.
the final battle. If you can get there,
Yeah. That reminds me of World of Warcraft again. It's like if you can get to 60, you can play the game. Uh,
yeah,
back in the
fair
day.
enough.
But
Okay.
uh,
There's another book that I haven't read, but I want to read. It's called like what's it called? Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon,
Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon. I haven't seen that one.
a lit RPG adventure, remixed. A lit
What?
RPG
You found
adventure
a
just for
lit
you.
RPG before me?
I didn't find shit. Somebody told me I should read it that I trust, and I intend to do so at some point.
Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon. Free on Kindle Unlimited. All right.
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's also on Audible. Matt Denneman.
Yep.
And I have never heard of the narrator, Joe Hempel. Huh.
Give Hempel a chance.
I will. I always give people a chance.
Then let me know. Oh
Um,
yeah, you listen to everything,
oh yeah. I have
which is how you're able to
too
have
many
tiers
titles.
of novels.
Very true. Um, okay, I have two more books that I want to recommend before we finish this section. Um, and I'll go through them much more quickly than the other ones. So one is I just finished. It's narrated by Travis Baldree. It's called Blade of Ghosts by Julian Gill, I think is the right way to put it. Um, it's a little darker, but still, it's not like bloody or anything like that. But it's just a little bit dark, like more bleak.
Wait, you,
Um,
what's it called?
Blade of Ghosts. I think I sent it to you on Discord.
Blade of Ghosts. All right. Oh
It's book one of
yeah,
the Lost Sect.
yeah.
Yeah.
I saw this in a what was it like a cultivation Facebook group I'm in where the author himself dropped it in. And anytime that happens, I'm gonna have to do this one day whenever I'm an author. But I always like when an author drops their own book in a Facebook group. I'm like I want to read your book, but I don't know if I should. It's like this weird
The
bias, right?
self-promotion
Yeah,
cringe
it's
kind
like this
of.
weird bias. And so
Yeah.
I
No,
just
I mean, I
the
get it. But yeah, this book is good, worth reading. So I would forgive the author.
you said it's
Um,
a little bit more like gory, intense type stuff.
it's just a little darker. Like there's a lot of death, and characters that you wouldn't expect to die that actually do kind of situation.
So it's got some Game of
Um,
Thrones vibes.
very light Game of Thrones. It's nowhere near that intense, but yeah. How do I put this? So the main character is basically in a cult. Everybody that he knows is in a cult. The whole world is a cult. Because they think
It
that
was all a
they're
cult.
yeah. So they're basically they're the last people of all of civilization, and they believe that they've been punished. They're being punished by the gods. Then they're the people that are left to atone for the sins of their past. And
That sounds like a healthy worldview.
exactly. So this guy, the his name is Jason, and they elaborate on the names like being like from their ancestors, which I thought was kind of funny. It's like all these normal names, but it's from the from their ancestors, which I thought was funny.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
but there's this form of cultivation where they basically pull shadows from certain things. So like in darkness, everything is a shadow. So that's like where they can cultivate the most,
All right, all
which
right.
I thought was pretty interesting.
I'm gonna be annoying.
Sure.
I don't want you to say any more about this because I'm gonna read it.
Okay. This is all within the first chapter, so
Oh, okay.
no, yeah, no big deal.
So they can cultivate darkness, shadows, and darkness.
Yeah, and the strongest cultivators can eventually, form things out of these shadows. It's called weaving in the book. Um,
Okay.
and and Jason is not a weaver, and he doesn't know why. Um, he had like a very promising future when he was tested for the very first time, which
Oh,
is all in the first
Travis
book.
narrates this. You already said that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Um, there's actually a couple of editing errors that Travis read, which doesn't usually Travis corrects editing errors, but so even if Kendall shows like an error, Travis will correct it and read it how it was meant to be written, but I noticed um, a
Look
couple
at
of mistakes in
you
the beginning.
calling
Anyway,
out a friend of the
I'm not
show.
calling him out. I'm saying
Straight up calling him out.
it's interesting how usually he corrects it and he didn't this time. I don't know if I know he releases new versions of books all the time, without telling anybody. So he goes back and corrects those mistakes. But I listened. I think I was the very first person to listen to this because I was like refreshing the page to see which books Travis had narrated that were getting released, and this one wasn't there. And then I refreshed the page and it was there. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna click that, and it had no reviews or anything like that. So I think that may be why. Is it was like maybe not even the release version of his narration. But anyway, um, yeah, it's really good. It's pretty short, if I remember right. Probably about maybe a little longer than like Unsold, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's very good. Highly recommend it, especially if you like cultivation. It's got a very interesting magic system that I haven't seen anywhere else. Um, Lots of creativity, and the writing is pretty good, and the story has lots of twists and turns that are pretty good and unexpected. Um,
Okay. Okay. I got like I said, I'm gonna read it. So that's coming up soon for me. I like this dynamic where you recommend books and I read them and then I tell you if I like them or not.
yeah.
It's good.
Um,
You haven't led me too far astray yet. I don't think.
I could lead you astray if you want. I can give you some book
I
recommendations
don't want you
that
to.
you
What
don't
I
want.
do want to ask though is have you read cuz like this is more of like I'm not paying enough attention to the space
Hmm.
lately. I'm noticing that Dakota Krout is publishing a lot of books with like weird fonts as like their covers, and I'm curious if like they're related at all. Because there's like the Full Murder Hobo series, which has two books out right now. The
Hmm.
first book is called Something, and the second book is called Anything, and
Yeah.
Anything is currently in pre-order. And then there's a book that recently just came out called Lord January, a lit RPG cultivation saga, Year of the Sword, Book One. Those
Yeah.
of you that watch this or listen to this, please let me know in the comments if these books are good. Like it's Dakota
Um,
Krout, so they are going to be entertaining. There's going to be lots of puns. There's going to be some culture like multimedia cultural references, like pop culture references, probably. And the writing is going to be entertaining. But what I want to know is it worth reading, and why?
yeah,
Because I'll probably read them. But if you want it to jump up in my priority for my reading backlog, I want you to pitch these books to me.
I have
Sorry.
some interesting information. I haven't read Lord January yet, but it is on my list of things to read because I Dakota Kraut's just one of those people that I read all of his books. But
Mm-hmm.
the interesting thing about this is a 12 book series, and one book is going to come out every month, and each one is called the name of the month. So Lord January, Lady February. I don't know what the next one is, but it's going to obviously have March in it, and so there's going to be a new one every month. And I think that these are. I haven't read it, so I'm not 100% sure, but I think that each one of these months are associated with like a god with like a specific power, and like Lord January is like an obese god of thunder or some crap. So yeah, that's kind of the premise, I think. So yeah,
Okay. Okay. It's
uh,
427 pages. So he's going
yeah.
to come out with a 400-page book every month.
I mean, um,
Dokeshi, it's
maybe
called,
he wrote them before.
yeah, it's called Dokeshi March.
Dokeshi March.
Yeah, it's already on Amazon for
Oh,
pre-order.
wow.
Yeah,
Um,
he's got two books in the same series up on pre-order at the same time.
He has a lot of co-authors too,
How
and I'm wondering.
balling is that? Yeah, but I don't think he has a co-author for these. It's just ball.
No, no, no.
It's just like baller moves, you know?
He's like the Brandon Sanderson of progressive fantasy. He just churns out books like nothing. I don't know how Brandon Sanderson does it, by the way. He releases these huge, long books like every 6 months. It's ridiculous. Um, okay, so last book I have to recommend for this episode. I haven't finished reading it, but it is so good so far, and it's called Battlefield Reclaimer or Reclaimer. I'm not sure how it's
That's the
pronounced.
book that you. Oh wait,
Um,
Op. One of our poker buddies recommended that to me.
okay.
Battlefield Reclaimer.
Well, good job, Op, because I'm really liking it so far. Um, so Travis narrates this book. It's by David North, and
Jesus.
um, it's about a man who inherits his father's and grandfather's class, basically. So we're in a world where classes are hereditary, and this class is seen as useless. And it's like not a combat class, and his whole family is very poor because these classes are useless. They can't really do anything to contribute to society. Um, with them. The society, no, the world is called the world law, which is like the video game mechanics kind of thing. And he's basically just a loser with a bad class. He's poor. His family's poor. They can barely put food on the table and all that. His dad gives him a spell scroll that gives him like a classless spell called Aura Bolt. Um, as a present for his 18th birthday to kind of like take the sting away from inheriting this useless ass class. He gives him a spell that would be worth quite a bit of money for them, and 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 trying to use that spell on an adventure with his dad, where they go to like some dungeon where they can start earning some experience. They unluckily end up in some sort of weird dimension shift, and they get teleported to God knows where. They're like in like the underworld or underground or something like that. They don't know where they're at, and he's also been transformed into another race called an outsider. And this is all in the first chapter as well.
Yeah,
Um,
this is in the synopsis, so I haven't stopped you yet.
okay, and so as an outsider, he like lost even more charisma than his base charisma was. So like people would like automatically hate him or whatever. But and he also grew horns. He basically, according to the description, he looks kind of like a demon. But in having
Or like a tiefling.
transformed, yeah, it kind of like unlocks his class and makes it less useless. And he basically goes through on a journey with his dad through this. It's basically a dungeon, um, and it's kind of like following that adventure, at least the first half or first quarter before
This
anything
book
changes about that.
this book
Something.
is just under 800 pages, and there is a sequel, which is called Asterfall.
Okay.
And the reason I'm
Um,
bringing this stuff up, by the way, is because a lot of people don't want to get into a book unless there's like follow-up books.
yeah. Yeah, there is a sequel, and I'm expecting it to go further than that based on the premise of things that I've read that I don't want to spoil. And it's pretty long, but it's also I really like the pacing, and I really like the dynamic in this book. I haven't found it anywhere else, where this guy is adventuring with his dad, and they have a good relationship, and that's it. Instead of like
Oh, it's so
how,
wholesome.
yeah, right. I don't think that exists in anywhere anything else I've read. It's usually like the dad instantly dies, and that's the motivation to power up
Oh
or whatever.
shit.
Um, like
Let me
so,
think.
I think it's
Yeah.
cool that he also like takes lessons from his dad. It seems very organic. I don't know how else to put it. It's not like he's not like a rebellious teenager that hates his parents for no fucking reason. Uh, it's just like a normal interaction between
A
um,
father-son adventure for the ages.
right. Uh, it's a good father-son adventure. It's not cringe, but it's also
Yeah.
not not something that's typical in this type of book. So
Okay.
highly recommend it. The writing's good. Travis narrates it.
Can you
Enough
think
said.
of another novel that has an active father figure?
An active father figure.
Well, like so
Um,
in Cradle, his dad's alive and he's useless. In Wheel of Time, Rand's.
I know. Brandon Sanderson actually writes the Stormlight Archive. Kaladin's dad is alive, and even though they
Just
butt
extremely
heads,
disappointed in
yeah,
him.
but that relationship grows to be less than um, or to be more, I don't know, useful, less destructive uh, than it is from the beginning, but it still show like there's a lot of relationship stuff through each book where it shows Kaladin having learned from his dad. Like Kaladin was able to do like medical work on Bridge 4 and stuff because of the things his dad taught him. And it's kind of like where he goes when he's in that depressive state. He's going through the motions of like how to care for people without getting emotionally involved, I guess.
Hmm.
So
Gotcha. Well, Brandon Sanderson needs no additional marketing.
yeah.
Not that we're giving anyone a lot of marketing, but those of you that listen, we love you, and we're gonna. There's gonna be more Cradle content coming soon. Next episode, we're going to bring back the remix cut, where Remix will tell us what he thinks is going to happen in the next book, and we will
Oh man.
see if he is more accurate this time around.
I hope so, because I don't know if I got anything right in the last
So
episode.
we when did we did what did we do a remix cut for?
It was
Was it
Bloodline.
it was for Bloodline?
Yeah, and I thought they were gonna go to Labyrinth, and I thought it was gonna be
Did we do one for
uh
Reaper?
no, we didn't. Reaper came out
Oh,
in
we did do
between.
one for Reaper, but we
We
couldn't
did?
use that. Like, I don't think we could use that. That was one of those where we like lost all the video and we had to like reshoot,
Oh
and we ended up just not
yeah,
doing it.
yeah.
God, the
Well,
lost files.
needless to say, I was nowhere near expect correct on either Reaper or Bloodline. Bloodline, I'm pretty sure I thought it was like mostly Labyrinth. So basically,
Yes,
everything that happened in Reaper is what I thought was gonna happen in Bloodline.
right.
So
Well, good.
hurry up,
I
Will.
can't wait to see what you have to say about Dread God.
Uh, I don't know how much I'm gonna say about Dread God. We're gonna try to keep it.
Well, think about it. Just think about it. It's so open ended now that you can say whatever you want, and it's okay if
Mhm.
you're wrong because we don't know what's going to happen. It's open ended.
It's very true.
Like, the
Um,
last book ends with we're out of the spoiler period, so I can say whatever I want. Lyndon is now the sole authority of the entire labyrinth, which is a
mhm.
planet spanning labyrinth. We know for sure now. Uh, we know that it was built by the original Court of Seven. We know that Athan was the Angel of Death, and we know he's now been taken into custody willingly. And we know that the Vroshir no longer have a weapon of cataclysmic multiverse ending destruction. Thank you for that, Osriel.
And we know that
We
the cat is afraid.
well, all cats are afraid of bigger cats.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Rhaegon Shin, having found out about Athan, has him pissing
It's like
himself, I'm pretty sure.
he killed like the his almost all of his descendants.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah,
I
lots to
can't wait
talk
for that.
about.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear what you have to say about Dreadgod in the next episode. Hopefully, we can get to it before Dreadgod comes out. Fingers
Yeah,
crossed.
I hope so.
I think we're like 1 month. It's been 1 month since we
Has it really
did
been
one.
that long?
Yeah, because we did the last one exactly 1 month ago.
Oh my
It was
goodness.
published on December 21st. Yeah.
Guys, we're trying. I promise. We're trying. We're gonna get more than one out of every month, all right? It's gonna happen.
I have a whole list of videos I want to make. Um,
Yeah.
so it's gonna be great. Lots of stuff. I mean, actually, I have a goal. I have an objective to publish 53 YouTube videos this year on this channel. They include the podcast. So thank you, Remix, for helping me.
You are more than welcome.
Because my Q1, one of my key results that I need to achieve is publish 10 videos by April 1st. So this is one. I'm going to do another one this month. Um, that won't be a podcast. That's two. So I'll have to do 8 in 2 months. So that's one a week at least.
Nice. I will try to actually put a video up. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to, and then something happens with my baby, or uh, I have to take the trash out. You know, adult things, unfortunately. But
Mm-hmm.
I
To
definitely
try,
want to put some stuff
you
out there.
stop doing a video because you have to take the trash
Taking the
out.
trash out is a multi-day process in Germany, I will tell you. Have I talked about that? It's stupid. Um,
We don't have to get into it. I do want to
yeah.
hear about that on another episode. You did kind of talk about it, how there's many different kinds of trash cans and trash bags and trash
Oh, yeah.
removal and what have you. You know,
One
so I'm
last
assuming
thing.
Germany just doesn't shove it under a mountain somewhere.
No, I think they do that, which is why I'm so confused about why it's got to be so complicated. But I'm pretty sure they create mountains, actually. I'm digressing again. Uh, some stuff that we want to mention before the end of the episode is please, please, please join the Discord and participate in that if you have the time, or just if you're interested in what's going on or what we think of a certain book. We are active at all times in the
You know,
Discord, and it's growing, but slowly. So,
I actually have a question for you.
sure.
Um, yeah, someone reached out to me on Discord one on one, and I said I would ask you on the next podcast. I just remembered.
Oh, okay, sure.
Um, let's see. Have you read The Demon's Apprentice?
Demon's Apprentice. I don't remember it, but it doesn't mean I haven't read it.
Yeah,
Uh,
because they thought that we recommended it on the pod.
Demon's Apprentice. It's not on Audible, so it's very
Honestly.
unlikely that I have read it.
Yeah, they started on the Audible side
Wait,
of the
no, there it
fence.
is on. It is on Audible by Ben Reader.
I don't know. This
It's free.
listeners on the sixth book of the podcast, and or this wow, the sixth book of the podcast. They're on the sixth
Six
book of
book.
this series, and they don't know if they want to continue. Um,
Well, there's one episode on Audible for free. I
it
will.
doesn't look like you will like it.
It definitely doesn't look like I will, based on the cover alone. But I mean, there's been some pretty shit covers out there, for good books. So, what's the synopsis here? Let's give it a
No, I don't
real.
even think we should market it at all. But this guy
Okay.
did say he confused it with the Tao of Magic and the Art of the Adept, which are books we've both talked about on the series. Like they thought these were ones that we've recommended on this podcast. Both of us. You recommended Art of the Adept. I
Hmm.
recommended the Tao of Magic before I got far enough into it to get annoyed.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, so Discord user who messaged me, I asked Remix, and he has not read about werewolf domination.
Oh. I'm gonna have to pass. If that's. Um.
Solid choice, my friend. Solid choice. Just hey, there's art out there for everyone's consumption.
Um. You guys can also reach out to me. Instead of having Bamf be the
Hey, send
middleman.
Remix just wants some love. He wants some internet love. So y'all hit him up,
I actually
make
have
him
had
feel
people reach out to me. I'm
special.
just saying you don't have to go through
Ask
Bamf.
him direct questions in the YouTube comments. Let him know how much you love him, and
Yeah.
we'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the information requested podcast, where Bamf gets all the love and Remixed is mildly
Oh my God.
forgotten.
Yeah, well,
Let's flip that script. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have
thank
a great day.
bye.
Bye.